channel. Today I'm going to be attempting to pretty much set the air gap on my Clutch Master 725 Plus using the Clutch Master bearing. So I'm going to be working on my Mark 5 GLI 2.5 turbo. This I'm running the 6-speed transmission. So I'm gonna try to run this bearing, and I pretty much spoke to a couple of people, and they all say that this bearing would come out of place because the distance are pretty much not correct if you just go ahead and install it the way they come. So in this video I'm gonna try to show you how to fix that. If you're watching this video, that means that this worked. So let me go ahead and take it over here. So this is your Clutch Master bearing if you install it the way it is. So let's say like that. And we're gonna go ahead and take our measurements now. So the way I used the measurements, I found something that it was fairly straight and even. You set it down and you use the micrometer here, zero it out. You use this side on the back to measure the distance. Like this. Can you show inside here so you can see it's touching on the surface. Now something very important, the actual piston is all the way down. You want to make sure you guys are aware of that. It needs to be fully seated to take the measurements. So this is how you do it. And if we look at it in millimeters, that's what we have. These numbers I'm going to show all of you guys in a piece of paper, because I already did and took all my measurements. So I just want to show you how you guys can do it on your Volkswagen as well. If pretty much I couldn't find any video that helped on a front wheel drive car where you have the cylinder sitting so far down. So I'm going to be attempting to figure this out, and hopefully we can get this all sorted. So now that we have that measurement, we want to move on to the next measurement. Also, something else before we move forward, if you see the way we took this measurement here, and we are measuring from the top side, you need to subtract the width of this bar. So on this case, I'm running on a right around 21 to 22. I already have the measurements written down again. I already try to figure all this out. So I'm trying to make a video for you guys to make it a little bit more simple. Now here, looking at the clutch and the engine, the way I took this measurement, I laid this completely flat on the clutch. And the way we did it, we got a couple of measurements around, sitting perfectly flat on the flywheel here, and multiple areas around, as well as in the back side. And it was right around 111. So now, something very important as well. The measurement that we're looking for is the distance on the teeth, not on the actual clutch surface. So on this clutch, since this sits below the clutch surface area, we have to subtract that distance as well. So we bring this down, and we take this measurement. You can do it this way and then subtract it from the 111 that we got. Or the way I did it, I actually went further down and took the measurement like that. That for me was pretty much 5 millimeters that we need to subtract. So now we're gonna go see that on paper so you guys can have an understanding. So you can pause the video and take a look. These numbers can be different for you, but this is how I did mine. If you see the bell housing number that we have, our total, we subtract the width of the bar that I'm using, and that's what we have. Now from the engine to the clutch fork, or yeah, exactly, to the clutch fork from the actual engine, that's what we have, 111 minus the 22 of the bar, and then minus the distance of the surface to the actual forks of the clutch, and that's what we have. Now we subtract the small number from the bigger number, and that's the gap that I got, 7.78. Now if you look at the Clutchmaster's website, for our 725 we need anywhere from 0.090 to 0.120. Now if we convert that to millimeters, we get 2.2. So pretty much that's telling us that we're way past the point. So in this case, the bearing should come out and come out of place, which is the issue that a lot of the guys were having with this slave cylinder. Because if you see here, this would actually stretch and pop out of place. So it needs to have a specific travel. Again, this is gonna be a first attempt for me. Hopefully this works out and I get a proper working clutch. So looking here at the OEM, actually compare the height between them two, and the OEM actually sits lower than this one when it's fully maxed out. So if I press this and compress the spring in there, you set it down all the way on the transmission and you compress the spring, and then you measure from this area to the bell housing. And I got the two measurements here side by side. So on the OEM I had 115 minus the subtract, I got right around 8.9 millimeters, which is even more than the Clutchmaster. So if these numbers are correct, which I'm not 1000% sure on it, I'm just testing the theory, we need pretty much to get anywhere, like subtract from this number a good amount, which is like a 5.4 millimeter, and that's kind of what I have invented here. If you see, let me zero this out. I got a couple of washers, pretty much trying to make a spacer, which is 5.7. These are all very even, and we will be getting right around 2.3 millimeters. If that will be falling within the specification of the Clutchmasters, so 2.3 would be ideal for this setup. But now what I did a little different, since as you can see the backside of the bearing here, let's go back over here. The backside of this bearing will sit flush with on this area. So the moment that we, so you can see here, nice and solid, doesn't move. The moment we bring this out, the amount that we have to do just to be able to clear according to the measurements is enough to take the bearing out of its original location, causing it for it to shift and move. So I'm attempting to kind of do something that should work in theory. So if we come over here, I found myself bigger bolts. This will be the original bolts that will go on your factory one. As you can see, they fit loose in there, right? And they're also much smaller. So I found this steel bolt that sits pretty much perfectly flush inside the slave. Now if we add the shims, that's kind of what we have. And again, I had to drill the transmission. I ended up drilling the transmission to a larger bolt. So kind of this is what I'm going for. So you can see here, now the slave is sitting on those spacers, bringing this a little bit higher. So I'm gonna try to make this work. Again, I had to drill this hole larger, and had to make sure that I didn't go further than what I should to possibly affect the transmission. I know it's a risk. I don't know if this is gonna work. I might be risking a transmission at this point just to try to prove a point, or at least understand why this such a great piece, right? Clutchmaster, you expect this thing to be solid, you know, and not have any issues. But the moment you do a little bit more research on the Volkswagen platform, you quickly find out that these things are no good according to a lot of people. Now, I'm not sure those people are doing the shims or getting the proper measurements at this point. So I'm gonna attempt this to see if it works. The good thing is that if this doesn't work and I have to go back to an OEM style because I'm having any sort of binding or whatever, I can always run the OEM with the oversized bolts already. So it wouldn't be a problem to go back to OEM and just run the larger bolts, which actually fits perfect on the OEM instead of the uneven surface, or you can see the difference there. So we can go back to OEM if we have to. Hopefully if you're watching this video, that means that it worked out, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue and get it all put in there together and give you guys an update here shortly. So this is how it looks. I was able to run a pressure washer on that side. This bolt was actually a little too long. I had to find shorter ones. As you can see here, I had to grind the head down as well and the back side. I have pretty much about an inch, like 1.1 to 1.2 inches of distance that I had to drill and tap the thread on there. But this fit perfect, and also the cylinder still has a little bit of play, but once those bolts are tight down, it's gonna be in the correct place according to our measurements. Again, we're gonna attempt to put it back in the car and hopefully everything works out. If this does work out, then the next measurement that we have to take will be the one on the clutch stopper, which I'm gonna also try to get installed on the car so we know exactly how much we can go till we don't have any more clutch or fully disengaged. Hopefully this works out. Now with the slave installed at its correct height, I want to just double check everything, right, to make sure that my measurements are correct. We go here with the new slave cylinder at its correct height. We got a total of 108, and if we see 108 minus the distance of the bar gives us 85.87 minus the 83.77 from the clutch, it gives us 2.1. So if this is correct, we should be able to inspect very close to our minimum. Alright guys, we got the transmission back on there. Two bolts are tight, and now we're actually looking with a camera to see if our predictions were correct. And as you can see here we have the flywheel, and here we have the throwout bearing. I already had a friend of mine go on the engine and spin the motor, and I can see that the engine or the clutch is actually moving while the bearing is still in the same place. So we do have a small gap, hopefully of 2.1 millimeters in there, and I can confirm that because again the clutch is moving and the bearing is not, which is giving me a certainty that it has a little bit of a gap. As you can see here also on the teeth, kind of seem where the bearing would actually touch, and that's about the gap that we have. Alright guys, so now we look over here with our camera. We can see the bearing and the forks. Clarence, go ahead and press the clutch. We can see the bearing pushing the forks. Now let go all the way. Slightly tap it. Less. There we can see just a little tiny gap before we can actually see the fork starting to move. So that's telling me that our 2 millimeter gap is there working as it should. That's the bearing all the way depressed. Let it go. Tap it. We can see, yeah, I can definitely see the fork. Takes a second before it moves. All the way down. That'll be all the way down. It looks pretty good. Now we have to take a measurement or set the clutch stopper according to the clutch, but as far as I see here, we should be golden. Here's a little video with the plumbing already installed. So you can see here we got the clutch master line. The way I routed, similar to the factory one. I actually end up using the factory bracket here to grab that in place. Then here, this piece you can actually move around. It's like a swivel head, so just kind of push it to the back side, have the line sitting like that. Should be good, should be free from vibration there, any issues. We're gonna go ahead and continue, see if I can get this all back together and bleed the clutch before I fully assemble the car, just to keep testing this theory. But as far as we go, it looked pretty good. All right, so we officially finished the car. Already got the throttle bearing installed, bled the clutch, everything's ready to put back together. You can see here. Now I want to show you guys here what I did with the clutch stopper. As you can see, I put that bolt on there. So from factory, you have this rubber cap on there, and then I just took that off and put a bolt on there. Now when you press the clutch all the way down, you can see it will bottom out. I already tested it. It had a lot of play from after the clutch disengaged, so I had to definitely adjust it for sure to get it on that sweet spot. So I'm gonna take the car for a test drive and see how it works. Let's go ahead and take the car for a quick test drive. I'm gonna take you guys along so you guys can see how I'm pretty much driving the car. You can also hear that loud ass throttle bearing or clutch shatter. Goes into gear just fine. If you see, I'm letting the clutch go just a little bit before the car actually starts to move. Seems like it's working fine. Sweet. Now let's see if it lasts long. This thing's popping and bagging. It's a little sensitive. I have a lot of tuning left to do. She's working. Goes right into gear just fine. That's it. That's 6 gears. Keep ripping. No weird noises. Back to normal. Hopefully this video was any helpful for you guys. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content on the Mark V all-wheel drive Jetta. And yeah, hopefully this video was helpful. Not the best thing to do, but if it works, right? So make sure you guys stay tuned for more videos, and thank you guys for watching.